Hi, I'm Caitlin McKenzie from Baker Academic. I'm here with Stephen Bouma-Prediger, author of For the Beauty of the Earth. I was wondering if you could describe your vision for land ethic.
It's an excellent question. The land ethic, the term itself actually comes from a book, a classic book of the 20th century by Aldo Leopold. It's called the Sand County Almanac, and if you would poll environmentalists of various sorts, invariably that book would show up on the top 4 or 5 most important, most influential books in the environmental movement, not just probably North America, but worldwide. Leopold wrote the book in the 1930s and 40s. Actually, he died before he was able to see the publication of the book. It was published posthumously. But that's the main concept that comes out of that book, a land ethic. The famous maxim that Leopold coined is that a thing is right if it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. It is wrong, an action is wrong, if it tends otherwise, quote unquote. So a thing is right, something we do as humans, is right if it tends to preserve the integrity, stability, and beauty of the biotic community. So what Leopold does is radically transform sort of the realm of what counts, morally speaking, or what ethicists call moral patience. What do you need to take account of, or take into account when you're making an ethical decision? And what Leopold's done is say it's not just present humans living today. It's not even future generations. That's all important of humans. But it needs to include animals and plants, indeed the land itself. So the ethic is for, to use his language, the whole biotic community. Now, in chapter 6 of the book, I sort of lay out a spectrum of 7 different views in ecological ethics, and then come clean and say this is the one that I think, if you had to choose, is the best, in my view, as a Christian. From those secular environmental ethical positions, the best is the land ethic, for a variety of reasons. And I think, first and foremost, it comports best with the ethic that's put forward in Scripture, which I talk about in chapter 4 of the book. Though I do say in that chapter that there are a number of changes that I think Christians would need to make, some adaptations of Leopold's ethic. Number 1, we live on the water planet, and it's a land ethic, so we need to take that into consideration. Number 2, the land ethic has been charged by some critics as tending to run roughshod over the rights of individuals, so we need to take that into consideration. I think it's easy to do. And the land ethic is grouped in what's called ecocentric ethics, earth-centered. And I think as a Christian we need to transform that, and that's possible also, I try to do that later in the book, into a theocentric perspective, a God-centered ethic. So there are these criticisms, but none of them I think are insuperable problems. That I think you can easily take a kind of Leopoldian land ethic and transmute it, as it were, into a kind of Christian land ethic. The other thing I think is important, Leopold doesn't talk a lot about virtues, and that's what I spend a whole chapter trying to develop, chapter 7 in the book. I and a handful of other people, ethicists in this country and elsewhere, are trying to change the whole discussion of ecological ethics away from rules and consequences and duties and talk more about what virtues do we need to have as people, and how do we cultivate those virtues, those habitual dispositions to act well, virtues like wisdom, justice, frugality, so on. So I think that's a real missing piece in Leopold's land ethic. But I think it's a fabulous place to start if you want to think more holistically about the world in which we live.
Thank you.
You're welcome.